Hello, today we are looking at the lab on the study of the group trends, and this is on pages 26 and 27 and 28 of your lab book. We're actually going to have this in two videos, so this is going to be part 1 and part 2, and then there'll be a second video for parts 3 and 4. So in part 1, we are looking at the two elements, which are calcium and magnesium, which are both in column 2 on the periodic table. So for the first part, I'm going to put some water in a test tube. I'm going to move you down here so you can see the table. I'm going to put some water in a test tube. I'm going to add a piece of calcium to it. Okay, so put some water in here. And then I'm going to add a test tube, or add a piece of calcium, and I'm going to look for a reaction in there. So calcium I do not want to touch with my hand, so I'm actually going to use some forceps to put in. And I'm also going to cover it. It's going to create hydrogen gas, so I want to cover it and trap the hydrogen gas like we did when we reacted zinc and hydrochloric acid. So put my calcium in. I'm going to put the second test tube over top of the first and catch any gas that's created, so you can see, hopefully, let me bring it a little closer. You can see it bubbling. Okay, so now I'm going to need to see if I can light my Bunsen burner one-handed. Should have lit it first. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to let that react. I'm going to hold it with the flame. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to light a splint on fire. Whoa, we got lots of gas coming out of there. I'm going to light the splint on fire, and I'm going to put it in between the two test tubes. And then hopefully we'll hear the popping noise indicating the hydrogen gas. Okay, there we go. That was a good pop. Okay, you can see that it's continuing to react. Okay, bubbling up there. It is also very exothermic, so the test tube would feel warm if I touched it at this point. So for part 1, where you asked about calcium, the observations, you can say that it bubbled when it reacted with the water, and then you also heard the popping noise. Okay? The last thing we need to test it for is its reaction with phenolphthalein, which is an indicator, okay, which shows the presence of an acid or a base. So we're going to need to pop some of those bubbles at the top there. I'm going to put some phenolphthalein in there, and you can very easily see, if I move this bottle, there we go. Okay, you can very easily see that it has turned pink. So that is calcium. So now we're going to do the same type of thing with magnesium. However, magnesium is not going to create enough hydrogen gas that you're going to get a popping noise. Magnesium is harder to react. So instead I'm going to put the magnesium in the test tube. And it is creating hydrogen gas, but again, it's not making enough hydrogen gas for us to collect and test like we did in the last part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this. Okay, so that the water gets hot, which allows it to react with the magnesium better. Okay, so we're just getting the magnesium to react with the water. The magnesium has a little bit of a coating on the outside, so the extra heat allows it to react. And again, it is creating gas, but not enough that we're going to hear that popping noise. But hopefully, because it's in the same column, we should see the same reaction with the phenolphthalein. So if I add some phenolphthalein, ooh, let's see. Guess I did not react it long enough. Let me put it back in the flame. Let's see if we can get that magnesium to react, and we can get some purple, or sorry, pink color. Whoa. Okay, let me see if that was enough now to get some change in color. Hopefully, let me turn off my flame here. Hopefully you can see maybe right, there we go, right next to the piece of magnesium. Okay, it is turning pink. Okay, so tiny little pink. So both of them changed the color of the phenolphthalein to pink. Okay, again, we even in your lab book, we already have it marked that we're not going to try to do that with the popping. It says NR, not going to react that way. Okay, so we didn't have enough of a reaction with the water, okay, in order to create that hydrogen, but it should turn slightly pink. And again, if you look right at the metal before it flops to the opposite side, let me change it again. Okay, you should see that the metal is pink. So in part two, we're gonna put a piece of magnesium right in the flame of the Bunsen burner, and we're gonna watch it burn. So let me relight. And I'll try it first with my lights on. If you can't see it, then I'll turn the lights off. Whoops, and put it in the flame of the Bunsen. Whoa. Maybe I'll get my other tongs. Let's see if these guys are better. There we go. Okay, I think you can see that. Okay, it's burning very, very brightly. If you look directly at it here in the classroom and then look away, you would actually see spots for a little while. Okay, so it burns with a really bright light. Calcium will not do that, so I'm not going to put calcium in the flame of the Bunsen burner. So in part one, we looked at the comparison with magnesium and calcium. We saw some similarities as they reacted and turned this pink. Okay, so that was part one. Oh, and part two. So part one and part two is what we just did. Yes, part one and part two.